Welcome back to Desk Careers, everybody. I'm really excited to bring a new amazing guest. You might recognize him. He has been to the college a couple of times in the last academic year. Today we are in London and we are talking to Hitesh Chowdry, who's coming in from InvestIN Education. Now I know for some of you sixth form students and maybe some of the year 11 students, you might recognize the name InvestIN Education. We'll talk a little bit more about what they do as an organization and a lot more about Hitesh and his professional career pathway. Welcome to Desk Careers, Hitesh.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Maria. I'm very excited to be here.
Hitesh, let's start right at the beginning. I remember meeting you in Dubai when you came to the college. You were talking to the careers community and you talked to our students as well about the work and the work experiences that you offer at InvestIN. But I really want to start with a little bit about you as a professional. Talk to us about where it all started for you in your career.
Sure. So, look, believe it or not, Maria, it wasn't so long ago that I was in the same shoes as your students, working really hard for my A-levels, trying to get into one of the best possible universities. And I and my fellow co-founder, we thought it was almost implicit that by getting into a top university, you're almost guaranteed a top job after that. But when we got to university, we were subject to very much a kind of rude awakening. You see thousands, tens of thousands of other students with fantastic CVs and grades and amazing extracurricular activities. And I found it difficult to differentiate myself from others. And so having done a law degree in London and graduated with good grades and everything, I found it extremely competitive getting my first job in the legal industry, as did my peers. I went into the commercial law route, trained and qualified as a solicitor at a City of London law firm in commercial litigation. And that's where I felt really that there was a huge gap between what you're taught at school and, careers, right? And career readiness. And I realized that the last place on earth that can fill that gap is university. University was a fantastic experience, really sharpened those academic skills, made great friends, and social skills are extremely important for your career. But in no way did I feel that it prepared me professionally beyond the classroom much.
It's so great to hear you say that, because I know as the careers coach in the college and also as the founder of the UAE career community, I'm always talking about the need to enrich this understanding that university is in the business of teaching you skills to complete a degree, but it's not going to get you the job. There's so many other things that young people need to learn and to be aware of that makes them a competitive candidate. And I agree that university it's almost too late to start gaining those experiences for a number of reasons. But talk to us about how you went from law to where you are today and why.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I was working as a litigator. I worked both in commercial litigation at a city law firm and then at a few US law firms in the City of London. I also worked at the government legal department for a few years, working in human rights litigation. I actually went to do an MBA, Maria, because I realized that, for myself, I wanted to help clients in more creative ways beyond just their legal needs. So I went to do an MBA, and while doing that, I was really reflecting on my path. I think going to business school gives people time a lot for reflection. And that's where I came up with the idea of, creating an organization that could help people plug a gap. And then when I look at the gaps I had, as I mentioned, they really seem to be around this idea of school and grades and classroom and everything you get out of performing well academically, compared to what you need to succeed professionally. And that's what really stirred me on to, along with Shamir, to found this organization. And it started out very simply. We had just 2 programs, law and investment banking. Obviously now to see it grow to 20 careers and more than 30 full-time staff with us and more than 500 professionals on our books, it's amazing to see. But I think, you know, the biggest source of satisfaction is that what we want to achieve, very similar to what you're achieving where you are through the community you built up in the UAE, Maria, is how much this resonates with people. How many parents feel just as I do that they wish they had this when they were that age? How many students are longing for this now? How many teachers think it's important? To be able to bring so many thousands of people together, singing from the same hymn sheet, is really something that brings me a lot of happiness and satisfaction.
That's really wonderful. And what's also really interesting is to see that your career change came from a place of an understanding of there's something missing in how we're preparing young people, and in feeling it yourself made it a little bit, or it sounds like it could have made it a little personal, because why would I want anybody else to go through this challenge if I can help fix it? Which is something that is a great pathway to finding that career. And that's something that we're talking about with the students all the time, is find a challenge in the world that you want to be part of, to find solutions for. And it sounds almost like that's what you had done. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that, Maria. I think, look, going into law, going into a solid profession allows you to have options. I think, you know, having a strong, sort of steady and stable start to your career allows you to think beyond, because you've got a strong platform, a strong foundation on which to build your career. So that did give me the time and optionality to do an MBA and to reflect on what else I wanted to achieve with my career. And for me, yes, it was helping other people achieve their own career ambitions, to give other people something that I wish I had. But do I think InvestIN would have become this big without it being personal? No, I don't. There are countless examples in the world where people have been able to achieve well beyond others, and well beyond what they imagined, just because they had that extra bit of passion about what they do. And I think that's the case for us here. And I see so many other examples of people who've been able to defy the odds, really, because something is genuinely personal to them. And I just wanted to clarify, that level of sort of personal commitment shouldn't be something that somebody's afraid of. They shouldn't think that they're going to get emotionally dragged down by something. You must think of challenges as a positive and look at them in a way almost with a playfulness. So you can kind of see, I suppose, how you may be able to rise to an occasion. That's what we've done here, and that's what we see our students doing as well.
Amazing. So I know that your program has merged the gap between schools and industries. And I know, talking to you from the UAE, one of our biggest obstacles in careers education and enhancing the understanding of the world of work is internship and work experience. And I know in North America, young people all the time are able to access the world of work through volunteer programs or through part-time jobs. They're allowed to find those jobs. I know in the UK, it's also easier for young people to access the world of work. But here in the UAE, it has been one of our greatest obstacles. Of course, we've had many instances where we're able to place students. How does InvestIN Education tap into a market like ours and gain that trust and gain that conviction from families that you're a reliable source to help those students?
Sure. So the UAE has been a very interesting market for us. Outside the UK, we get our highest number of students from the UAE, and we build up great partnerships with people like yourselves. So we've had a number of students from the UAE visit our programs, outstanding feedback from almost all of them. We've had overall more than 40,000 students walk through our doors now, and there's a lot of reviews online about us and things like that. We've had partnerships with the people like the Financial Times. So there's a long track record there, more than 350 partner schools that people can look at and see that we've created deep relationships with many, many trusted institutions around the world. But it is correct that what we can offer students in the Middle East is something quite unique, because obviously effectively we're offering what you would gain from work experience on a plate. And given the particular characteristics of the UAE market, namely that students don't really have part-time jobs where they're able to gain a lot of those professional skills, I think that what we're offering is even more poignant than it is for other jurisdictions. In terms of how we offer that, well, our programs seek to give students 4 key things: knowledge, experience, advantage, and network. Now, knowledge, when we talk about knowledge, you can't just get these skills that you need by reading about a profession on Wikipedia. You need to be in a live, interactive environment with seasoned professionals who you can learn from. Experience is the key word in our organization. We try to make, we believe in experiential learning by doing. And so we give students a real life experience of that profession. And, last week we took students to the Supreme Court in London, for example, and they actually argued a case before a judge there. That's the sort of some of the in-person experiences that we can offer. But even online, we had live streaming from a London hospital last week. And I know some of your students attended that program, Maria, where we had a doctor on a simulated ward round seeing real patients, and the doctor's interaction with the patient was, being streamed live to would-be medical students. And the doctor was getting their input on what questions they'd asked the patient and things like that. So we offer those kind of experiences, and now that we can offer those online, obviously we reach a wider audience. Then there's advantage, so knowledge, experience, advantage. A lot of young people, I think, they've fallen for this myth that when you go through the recruitment process, it's just about your grades and then being a good talker in an interview. That's just nonsense, really. There's a specific science to success, a specific science, the kinds of behaviors you can adopt to be successful in the recruitment process. So we want to share that with our students, so at least they're empowered with the same knowledge as everybody else. And then the final thing is network. Students need the opportunity to ask questions of successful professionals. That breaks down barriers, that makes them realize that successful professionals are people just like them, only a bit older, and gives them the confidence to go out and achieve their career dreams. And that's what we're trying to do.
Fantastic. So let's narrow back into the types of job roles that exist at InvestIN. So I know that you have 3 teams: project management, student experience, and partner development. What types of academic backgrounds would your team members need to have to join the team, or is that even important?
Look, I think academic background plays a role. There's no doubt about that. It does show a level of commitment and a level of character. So generally our team comes, they do have strong academic backgrounds. They are from a variety of universities. We don't just recruit from Oxford and Cambridge or anything like that. We've got a diverse mix. But really, that is a bare minimum. We're looking for so much more than that, Maria. And if I can sum up, all these different skills, like problem solving, like teamwork, like communication skills. If I can sum them all up, really, we're looking for character. Okay. And what does that mean? Well, I can't give you a universal definition of that, but what I can say about that is, for us, it's people who will come and not just solve the problems that they're given. They will be proactive about finding issues, finding potential bottlenecks, taking complete ownership over those, and presenting to us how they would do things much better than we would have done. And that is ultimately what it comes down to. People who have the integrity and the character to take ownership over situations that they haven't even been given, Maria, and to improve them, and to take responsibility for them.
Fantastic.
Those people, and I'll just say, Maria, the people who we find, if we find one common thread between the people who have that character and who don't, it's not necessarily the university they went to or the grades they got or anything like that. It's people who have had a meaningful experience of work before they graduate. And obviously that's one of the things we're trying to do as an organization.
Fantastic. So how does a solicitor with an MBA fit into InvestIN?
How does a solicitor with an MBA fit into an InvestIN?
Yes,
well,
I'm asking that with all respect, just because I know that the students that we meet on a regular basis, young people in general, all over the world, I'm really excited to have worked with young people pretty much all over, all over the world. And the one common thread is, I need to get the right degree, and that degree is going to get me the job. It's kind of, in their mind, it's a linear process. And I think for a lot of parents, although they do understand that the world of work is so different to what it was when they started their careers, somewhere in their mind, they still help their children down that linear path. So it's exciting for me to see that you started off on a very different path and decided to do something because you saw a gap and you felt the need to fill it with your co-founder. So I kind of want to put it in perspective for these young people and getting them to understand that the degree that they start with will not necessarily define the career path, and you're allowed to take a few twists and turns. So how does a solicitor with an MBA fit into InvestIN?
So, I mean, what I'd say about that question in general, Maria, is that you are seeing the rise of portfolio careers now. And that's very much a recent thing comparatively. I think you've seen that more in the last 10 years or so. And I totally connect with the stereotype that many parents have, is that the degree their children choose will define the rest of their careers and the rest of their lives. At quite a narrow level, in terms of legal careers, I would say, what I emphasize to students on the Young Lawyer Program is that that is just simply not the case. If you want to maximize your chances, you should play percentages. In order to play percentages, you should study the subjects at A level or IB that you will think you will score most highly in. Okay, and the same goes for the degree, because one of the most wonderful things about becoming a lawyer in the UK is that you can study pretty much any degree and convert to law afterwards. So, given the minimum criteria that top legal employers have, certain grade at university, a minimum 2-1 from a well-branded university, you're much better off studying something that you enjoy, which tends to be the things you do best at, rather than just choosing physics because you think that sounds like an excellent degree and then struggling when you get to university. That is not going to help you necessarily along that path. So my advice to young people is really to play percentages and keep their options open. And in order to do that, in order to keep your options open, if you're not sure what you want to go into when you go to university, pick something that you enjoy and go to the best sort of branded university that you can get into.
Talk to us about the mission that you have at InvestIN. So what is the mission?
Our mission is to bridge the gap between school and industry. We do that by giving young people an immersive experience of their dream career. Those immersive experiences are given to them in programs which involve knowledge, experience, advantage, and network. On the one hand, we've got connections with thousands of schools. 350 plus of those have actually signed on as InvestIN partner schools, but we are sent students from thousands of schools across the world. And at the other end, we have relationships with hundreds of professionals from these different careers. We're in 20 different careers, all the way from your traditional law, banking, medicine, and engineering, computer science, through to now we're launching art. We've got psychology, filmmaking has come on. So we really cover a broad spectrum of careers, and that's increasing by the term, really.
And I'm always talking to parents and educators and our students as well about the importance of aligning our personal values with the values of the organization. How would you say that your personal values align with InvestIN, and does your personal and professional mission align with InvestIN as well?
Sure. So I think the values thing is very interesting, because without exception, every single candidate who has applied to us and been successful at InvestIN has said, and when we ask them the question, why do you want to work for InvestIN? One of the first things they say is the values that are on your website really resonate with us. And those values were not taken out of a business school textbook. They were not taken from somewhere else. We didn't write them because we thought they sounded good. We only wrote those after about 5 years of InvestIN's existence. And rather than looking forward and saying, what do we think will sound good? How do we want to be? We just genuinely looked at what we thought had driven our success to that day. So it was evidence-based. And we came up with a set of values that we think were the foundations for bringing us to where we are. So my values completely align with InvestIN. The mission was partly a personal one on my behalf, so they align perfectly well.
Fabulous. Now, COVID-19 was a time of dramatic change in the world of work across the globe. We've seen a lot of unemployment. We have seen a lot of shifts. I remember doing a talk about careers and talking to our parents and our students about the future of careers. And I remember reminding our budding year 9 students that they shouldn't look at technology as something they like or not. It's something like breathing. It's something they have to adapt to and learn and enhance. It's that skill that isn't going to be an option. It's going to be a necessity. And then suddenly we were hit with this pandemic, and almost what career experts were always talking about as happening so far into the future suddenly became our current situation. What has your personal journey been on with COVID-19 in terms of your career, and how has InvestIN adapted to the changes that the pandemic brought on?
Well, clearly the pandemic has been extremely tragic. Hundreds of thousands of lives lost, and to talk about it in positive terms is difficult. Clearly the economy, the global economy is suffering, and that's bad news for everybody, not least for young people and their job prospects. But beyond that, I would encourage people to, as you've alluded to think of, as with technology, to think of this as an opportunity rather than a threat. I know that's difficult right now, but it is really the only way in which people are going to be able to succeed in these challenging times. At InvestIN, we were determined to really provide our programs to students. We think they need them now more than ever, because if the jobs market is going to become more competitive, then that's all the more reason for needing a meaningful experience of your career while you're still at school. So what we did, we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to provide a service which can be provided online, and we very quickly adapted. I mean, COVID took on its sort of meanest form in the UK, starting in around mid-March. And by mid-April, we had our first ever online programs take place. That's continued. We've had multiple programs now, something like more than 20 programs online, going up all the way to 4 days in length each. They're still going on this summer. So we've been able to adapt quite quickly and provide experiences to our students, which is what we exist to do. In the meantime, we haven't had to let any staff go. Nobody's been placed on furlough. And in fact, we've expanded our team significantly to respond to the increase in uptake from students.
That's really amazing to hear. Hitesh, I could talk to you forever. Last top 3 tips that you can offer any young person watching this today. What career tips from your own personal journey do you think, hey, listen, if you've learned anything from me, these are the top 3 things I want you to remember?
Good question. So, I mean, I think the first thing is to appreciate that you are valuable. Okay. It's not just about you consistently trying to prove yourself worthy of getting into a university and then worthy of getting into a job. You are valuable to these institutions, and that's why they want you there. So it's as much about you choosing the right place as the right place choosing you. So please don't constantly feel that kind of that insecurity that I see in so many talented young people. It's misplaced. You deserve success. You deserve to be in these top institutions, and you will get there if you start thinking more positively and constructively. What I think that comes with that as a second point, the fact that you're valuable, is that you have skills that are worthy to these organizations. You just don't realize it yet. And Maria, I've spoken to you in the past, about turning extracurricular activities into employable skills. And that is key. Too many young people I meet are doing extracurricular activities because it's something, that they think will look good on their university personal statements. That may be the case, but it's much more than that. An investment bank or a law firm is not employing you to play piano for them. They're not employing you to act in a play or something like that, whatever your extracurricular activities may be. But those experiences are valuable, but you need to take the time out to consider why they're valuable. All right. And if young people just reflect on what they do with their personal time and how that translates into valuable, employable skills, then they're starting to differentiate themselves from the competition, and they can flourish in applications and interviews. So that's the second thing. And the third thing I just say is that really young people should not by any means feel overwhelmed or daunted when they think about their futures beyond university. There is a whole world and wealth of opportunity out there, and they shouldn't think that their entire life hinges upon whether a certain university accepts or rejects them, or a certain employer. Their prosperity in life and their happiness will not be defined by one exception or rejection or anything like that. They've got many years ahead of them and plenty of opportunities to flourish. So I want them to feel empowered because they have people like you, Maria, and your community there, giving them the tools they need. These tools are not there to make them feel overwhelmed. They're there to make them feel empowered.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hitesh.
Pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of our time with you today. Thank you everyone for watching. This was an amazing talk with Hitesh Chowdry. Looking forward to seeing you again. And that brings us to the end. Thank you everybody for watching. I will see you all at our next Desk Careers Spotlight.